Can you see the screen properly?
No.
So, perspective is basically the way that one looks at something. It's a mm, it's a way of looking at things. So every individual has their own way of understanding things. Every individual has their own way of understanding and their own perspectives. That means every individual has their own opinion and their own view. All right, so that's what perspective is. Now, when we communicate with one another, when an information is shared from one person to another person, we have after we have received the message, we will understand the message, we will decode the information, we will decode the message, and then we will have our own opinion on that particular topic. We will have our own view. So that is known as perspective in the process of communication. Every individual has different perspectives, all right? Each and every individual, they have different perspectives. So a communication perspective is a uh, process which focuses on the way in which the meanings of the shared messages or information are understood. Okay, so how do we communicate? We communicate with the help of language or with the help of symbols, isn't it? We will either communicate with the help of language or with the help of symbols. So when a speaker shares a message or when a speaker delivers a speech, we will concentrate on what he is telling, and we will also concentrate on his body language, on his facial expressions, his gestures, and accordingly, we will have our own views, we will have our own opinions regarding that particular message that has been shared with us, and we will have our own perspective. So it might differ from person to person. Now, in communication, when a sender sends a message and when a receiver receives the message, the perspective of both the person might be different. My perspective might be something different, my understanding might be something different, and your understanding might be something different. So we need to try to always understand the perspective of the sender. We need to understand the actual meaning of the message. If the receiver understands the message in the way it has been shared, understands the actual meaning of the message, then, as I had already told in the earlier classes, it is known as an effective communication. And if the receiver does not understand the meaning of the message that has been shared with him, then it is known as barrier in the process of communication. That misunderstanding can be considered as the barrier in the process of communication. Now, our perspectives can also sometimes act as a barrier in the process of communication, because every individual has their own way of examining the situations or messages or anything. Okay, so each and every individual has a different way of examining things. So that is why sometimes when the message is misunderstood, the perspectives of the receiver can act as a barrier in the process of communication. But it is also mandatory to have our own perspectives, have our own views and opinions, because to understand the subject properly, you need to also have your own views and opinions. If you don't have any thing to say about the topic, if you don't have any opinion or any view regarding the particular topic or particular information that has been shared to you, if you don't have anything to share, anything to tell, if you don't have any response, if you don't have anything to share with the sender, then definitely the communication process won't be a successful one. So, perspective is necessary. A view or an opinion is always necessary when two people, two parties communicate with one another. But sometimes the perspective of two different individuals can be different, and that can also act as a barrier, but it might also create a lot of positive differences. Okay, it might create a lot of positive differences, and it might also create certain uh, negative impacts. But as we all know, every situation, everything has two sides. সদায় দুটা সাইড থাকে, এটা বস্তুৰ সদায় দুটা সাইড থাকে, a positive side and a negative side. So we need to understand how to use the positive side and how to stay away from the negative side. Okay, now there are different ways we can perceive things. When we look into something, when we hear something, when we have experienced something in our past, we will have our perceptions based on, we will have our opinions, we'll have our views based on those uh, what should I say? Our views and opinions will be based on those incidences. Okay, our views and opinions will be based on those incidents. Our views and opinions, our perception can be also based on something that we have seen. Our perception can also be based on the words that the other person is using. Our perception can be based on our way of living. Our way of living, as in the environment we live in, the things that have been taught to us. So our perceptions can be based on various other things, and we are going to learn about that in this chapter. All right, we are going to learn about how our perceptions, how our views, how our opinions are based on the things that we see, the words that we hear, the experiences of our life, or the environment we live in. All right. So now just tell me, is this whole term perspectives in communication is clear? Is this whole term perspectives in communication is clear to you all, or you have any doubt regarding the topic? First of all, you need to understand the topic. Then only you will be able to understand the whole chapter, then only you will be able to understand how our perceptions are based on several other things like language, like whatever we see, like our experiences. So I want to know whether whether you have understood the meaning of this chapter or not. Is there any doubt regarding this term, perspectives in communication? I just want to know that. Is there any doubt regarding the meaning of the topic? Please respond. You can just write down in
এবার
the
হিন্দিত
chat
কৈ
box.
দিয়ক বুজি পোৱা নাই ভালকে
Sorry, I'm not being able to understand. What did you say? Pardon?
মেম এবাৰ অসমীয়াত নহলে এবাৰ হিন্দীত কৈ দিয়ক যিখিনি অলপ ক'লে
Sorry, it's not clear. Can you repeat it once again?
মেম এবাৰ হিন্দীত নহলে অসমীয়াত কৈ দিয়ক অলপ বুজোতে প্ৰবলেম হৈছে
Acha, Hindit নহলে অসমীয়াত. Okay, okay. I'll tell you. So, perspective, what will I say it in Hindi? हम लोगों का हर एक इंसान का खुद का एक व्यू होता है, खुद का एक ओपिनियन होता है, isn't it? So that is the perspective. किसी चीज को जब हम देखते हैं तो we have a view regarding that particular thing. उसी को पर्सपेक्टिव बोलते हैं. पर्सपेक्टिव, हर एक इंसान का पर्सपेक्टिव अलग अलग होता है. हर एक इंसान अलग अलग तरीके से सोचता है. हर एक इंसान का अलग अलग ओपिनियन होता है, अलग अलग व्यूज होते हैं. ऑल राइट, सो this sometimes makes communication a little difficult and sometimes ये communication को easy भी कर देता है, communication को easy कर देता है. ठीक है. So हमारा perception जो होता है, हमारे opinion जो होते हैं, हमारे view जो होते हैं, that particular perception is based on several other things. मतलब बहुत सारी चीजों के ऊपर डिपेंड करता है. हम जब किसी चीज को देखते हैं, we have an opinion regarding that thing. हम लोगों का खुद का एक व्यू होता है, isn't it? जब हम सुनते हैं किसी की बातें तो we have our own ways of understanding. हमारा अपना तरीका होता है उस चीज को समझने के लिए, isn't it? हम अपने तरीके से उस चीज को समझते हैं. कभी कभार क्या होता है, उसी प्रोसेस में हम जो असली मीनिंग होता है वो समझते नहीं है. A message, when a message is shared, जब सेंडर एक मैसेज शेयर करता है तो उसके कुछ थॉट्स होते हैं कि मैं इसलिए ये मैसेज शेयर कर रहा हूँ या रही हूँ और मेरा मोटिव ये है. और जब तक वो रिसीवर के पास पहुंचता है, रिसीवर कुछ दूसरा समझ लेता है. सो रिसीवर हैज अ डिफरेंट टेक ऑन दैट पर्टिकुलर मैसेज. द ओपिनियन ऑफ द रिसीवर, और जो रिसीवर कुछ अलग से ही समझ लेता है and the actual meaning of the message is not understood by the receiver. उसकी वजह से क्या होता है, प्रॉब्लम्स क्रिएट होते हैं. सो दैट इज नोन एज द बैरियर. सो पर्सपेक्टिव की वजह से कभी कभार अच्छे चेंजेस भी आते हैं इन द प्रोसेस ऑफ कम्युनिकेशन एंड समटाइम्स इट कैन आल्सो एक्ट एज अ बैरियर. ठीक है. तो पर्सपेक्टिव बेसिकली डिपेंडेंट होता है, इट्स बेसिकली डिपेंडेंट ऑन लैंग्वेज के ऊपर डिपेंडेंट होता है, देन सिम्बॉल्स, देन whatever we see, then certain experiences of our life. हमारी सोच के ऊपर ये पर्सपेक्टिव बहुत ज़्यादा डिपेंडेंट है. हम कैसे सोचते हैं, हर एक इंसान का एक अलग सोच होता है, सोचने का अलग ही तरीका होता है कि नहीं. तो हमारी सोच के ऊपर डिपेंड करता है कि हमारे व्यूज़ कैसे होंगे, हमारे ओपिनियंस कैसे होंगे. सो दैट इज़ व्हाट पर्सपेक्टिव इज़. एंड इन द नेक्स्ट क्लास आई एम गोइंग टू डिस्कस अबाउट the different types of perceptions. ठीक है. So for now, if you have any other doubts then you can ask me. regarding this particular topic.